Okay, everyone, welcome to another episode of I'm a Black Woman. Yes, I matter. I'm your host, Kumara Denise. I also want to give a shout out to the Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust for helping us partner to celebrate and highlight Black women owned, led, and founded businesses here in South Florida. My guest today is Fathiyyah, who is the owner of Juice Defined. Hey, Fathiyyah.
Hey, Kumara, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing on this blessed day?
All is well. Thank you for asking. Thank you for having me too.
Oh my God, no, thank you for taking the time. I know as entrepreneurs, we're so busy making sure that we are working on our business and in our business that to take the time away, I really appreciate that. So, why don't you tell folks a little bit more about yourself and your entrepreneurial journey?
So, as you already stated, my name is Fathiyyah Doster. Most people call me Tia. I am the founder of JuiceDefined, and we are Miami's premier full-service juice and detox hub located in the heart of Opalaka. We like to call it downtown Opalaka. So, if you're from Miami, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so we are, pretty much we are a juice bar, but we like to consider ourselves a little bit more than that. We like to consider ourselves a wellness hub, right? We don't just sell juice and we don't just sell smoothies and things that you eat, but we like to make people feel safe about making better or healthier and more conscious choices, right, for their lives. And so, especially in a community like Opalaka, a predominantly Black community, it's important that we kind of bring that awareness to the community. Like it's okay to eat better. It's okay to want to improve your health and do better. So I like to think that we're more than just a juice bar. We're a healing hub, and I like to look at us as such.
I love that, a healing hub. That is amazing in Opalaka. So, not everyone who's watching will be from Miami. Can you just talk a little bit more about the historical importance of the location being in Opalaka?
Of course, of course. So we're located in Miami-Dade County. Most people know Miami and they know the beaches and all of the other stuff across the bridge, right? But we are one of the municipalities in Miami-Dade County that is considered to be under. Well, we are. It's not considered to be, but we're underserved. Predominantly Black community, his and a very historic community at that. However, we're a food desert. And so we don't have many options and definitely not many healthy options. We are the first juice bar in Opalaka and surrounding areas as well. And so because of that, I feel like it was super important for me to stay close to home. I'm from Miami Gardens or Carroll City, which is right next door, but we kind of share a lot of we share a similar population. And so it was important for me to stay close to home and not necessarily venture out to places where they already have access to a lot of things and already have um, they already have like several options when it comes to food choices. And so being able to stay close to home just it just helped me to stay grounded and just allow me to again just raise that awareness in my community around improving our lives by eating better and choosing healthier options for ourselves. So yeah, Opalaka is definitely a municipality in Miami-Dade County that is mostly underserved and mostly African American community as well.
Yes, no, thank you for that. And thank you for making sure that we have a healing hub in this food desert. So, speaking of, can you talk a little bit about your journey? Like, what made you decide that you're going to open up a juice bar and really go into the wellness space and then into the healing space?
I have no qualms about sharing my story. Again, I'm from Carroll City, Opalaka area. And so, I grew up in these parts. And for me, it was never a second thought that we didn't have anything healthy or anything that, you know, really was fueling our soul and fueling our bodies for longevity. You know what I mean? So it was never really a thought, honestly. But in 2010, I had my daughter and I had a really severe case of preeclampsia or HELP syndrome, that what they call it. And so, which is pretty much high blood pressure during pregnancy. And so because it got so severe, the severe variant is called HELP syndrome. And so with HELP syndrome, I had multi-organ failure. which means that my liver, my lungs, and my kidneys completely collapsed. And so it was definitely a healing journey, but the only organ that did not fully repair itself was my kidneys. And so I was on dialysis for a while. Eventually, I got a kidney transplant. And so, as a result of all of those things, like, I decided like I need to do something different. I need to try to take care of myself. I need to, I don't know what I need to do. At that time, I just wasn't aware of what I needed to do. But I started just researching things and I came across a documentary about juicing, and it literally just changed my whole life. Like I watched the documentary and I was just like, "Oh my god, I got to try this." And I tried juicing for the very first time, and when I say like, people don't believe me when I say it, because it's almost like an out of body experience when you start to like, when your body start releasing so many toxins, and you start to, you just start to feel rejuvenated, right? It was like nothing I had never felt before, but trying to explain it to people and put it into words, people were like, you lying. They don't believe it because, you know, we think about medicine in those terms, like, yeah, I could take a shot of something and immediately I feel better, but we don't think about, oh, I can drink fruits and vegetables and get that same effect. So it was difficult trying to explain it to people, but my experience with it the very first time, I knew that it was like I had to change my diet. Like I knew that whatever I was dealing with, some kind of way was connected to my diet. And that's when I started juicing. I just became overly obsessed with it and just started, just doing it for myself, just because it was something that I wanted to see some improvement, you know what I mean? And so after a while, like I would share I'm very transparent about my preeclampsia journey. Like I'm a maternal health crisis advocate. I've been doing that for years, especially in our community. I've, raised awareness and done all kind of things around preeclampsia and kidney failure and things of that nature. And so, I'm very transparent about it. I was sharing my juicing journey and people were interested. Like they were just like, well, what is that? And, and that's when I knew like, we don't even know what this is. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy. I had just found out what it was. So it was kind of astonishing that it was just like, wow, nobody really know what this thing is and how beneficial it can be. And so, I would share more of my journey. People would ask me to make them some, but it started getting expensive. I'm like, all right, you got to pay me now. And from my home kitchen, literally, like it was never really meant to be a business, so to speak. I never envisioned it being a business. I just wanted people to experience what I experienced, to be honest with you, when I first started. And eventually it started growing, like more and more, like more people were interested, they were asking. I found myself becoming more of an expert on it just because I was doing so much research around it. And and I started selling it bit by bit, and I was working from my home kitchen for about 7 years. And eventually the pandemic hit and all of those things. And that's how we actually ended up in the storefront, because the demand had got so big in my home kitchen. Like I couldn't, I just didn't have the capacity for it at home anymore. And I was like, you know what, if this is what it's supposed to be, let me just step out on faith and just see, if people really about this life. And we did. I stepped out, I found me a location. It was important for me again to just stay close to home. And we got our first storefront. Matter of fact, today is our 2-year anniversary. We opened the doors. Yes, we opened the doors August 15th, 2021, after this long, gruesome time trying to get everything off the ground. We opened August 15th, 2021. And it's been up ever since. Like people and that's what I learned from that process. Like people if you put it there, and you create that access for people to do better, they will do better. And
Mm,
so from this experience, just being in there in the store for 2 years, I've seen that like people are genuinely interested in what can I do to reverse this, or what can I do to improve this, or how can I, and people want to know. And so, I feel so good just to say like, hey, that we've been that pillar in the community to provide, resources and just provide like a practical and tangible um means to people just feeling better and being healthy. So that's pretty much like the backstory. Long story made long.
But every part was so important and essential. And congratulations on your 2 year store
Thank you.
anniversary, storefront anniversary. Um, Talk to me about how it was like to open up a storefront in the middle of the pandemic. I know that there were lots of, I'm sure, sanitation concerns. People were still masking up, I think, in 2021 and had to be 6 feet apart. So, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So when we opened in the middle, I was so skeptical. I can't lie to you. I was like, I mean, I know we in the healing business, but we still got to be realistic. You know what I mean? And so, because of the pandemic, that is the reason why we are like a takeout spot versus an actual sit down restaurant. People ask us all the time, you could have been like Starbucks, the time will come. The right thing come at the right time. I'm a firm believer in that. But because of the pandemic, we made it a takeout location versus a sit down restaurant. And so that was one of the things that was affected as a result of the pandemic. However, one thing I always stress too for people in my community, a lot of times we want to open up businesses in other areas, but we also have to recognize the gym that's our own. Like there is so much funding and so many resources and so much assistance when we stay home, stay put, and really try to revitalize where we are. And so that was a really big help, just being able to tap into a lot of the community funds, community resources, to be able to build out the storefront. And, obviously I had some savings and stuff as well because I had already been doing it for a while from home. But, being able to depend on some other resources outside in the community, like small community grants, community loans, like those things were important too. And so we were able to get those, and some of them specifically because we were in the area that we were in. And so that helped us tremendously, like like big equipment that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and being able to, again, like permitting and kind of, get through all of those kind of, all the red tape that it takes um, to get a business open. We were able to tap into a lot of the resources for us to be able to in order for us to be able to open our doors. So it was difficult. I can't lie. It was definitely a challenge. However, if we are able to use the resources that we have, like it can be done. It definitely can be done. Absolutely can be done. So I would, just encourage anybody who's wanting to open a business, like do your research. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Definitely do your research on different types of permitting and things of that nature, and create a budget. I can't stress that enough. Like, make sure you have a budget in place and know how much things cost. And I think that was something I learned along the way as well, because it was right in the midst of the pandemic that everything went up. Wood went up, all of the tools and things that we needed to build out the shop, like everything just skyrocketed. You know what I mean? So make sure you do your research. But don't be afraid to, open up in your own community. I mean, especially if you live or are from an underserved area. There are so many resources out there, y'all, to help us kind of thrive and, just stay online and connected to the community. Like, it's important, right? And then we're also, doing our community a service by helping to revitalize it and, just kind of keep it going, keep the life going in the community. So, but absolutely, it was a little bit difficult, but a lot difficult. I can't lie, but it was worth it. And also, like I said before, it was definitely it's definitely doable.
So I'm glad you made the point about the resources that are available if you decide to work within underserved communities, underserved populations, underserved zip codes, municipalities, etc. And I mean, this is an example of an organization, Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust, that is always giving back and thinking about what can we do to serve our Black businesses, right? Our mom and
Yes.
pop shops, the mainstay of the American economy. We would be nothing really without the entrepreneurs out there that make the economy go round, creating jobs, just being impactful within the community. And so I heard you say, this was difficult. It was a difficult journey, but it's worthwhile. And of course, we can't wait to see what comes next. When you were in your darkest moments, when you were thinking, my God, am I doing the right thing? What kept you going?
Oh, honestly, it was the a lot of our customers, like they would come. I mean, it seemed like every time I had like a dark day, there would be a customer come in and say like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad y'all here. Like, you don't know how much like this has changed my life," or, they will always just talk about the value that we brought to their lives, their personal lives. And to me, that meant a lot, especially knowing like we're the only, cold pressed juice bar in Opalaka, one of, and if not the first, in the surrounding areas as well. And so, in my mind is like, oh my God, like this is what people want, this is what they need, and so it's not like you're just here again, we're not just a juice bar, you know what I mean? And so I have to always in my darkest moments remember that, like, you're not just a business, or you're not just a juice bar, like you are a vessel, you know what I mean? Like if you were not here, like where would these people go, or what would these people do, and I don't take that lightly, so that always kind of bring me back to speed, you know what I mean? Like, yes, things are always going to be up and down in business. That's any industry. I'm not the first and last or the only to experience hardship in business, but when you provide value and you create a certain impact, I think that, you have a certain obligation. And so, I think that always kind of bring me back to reality. Like, okay, get your creative juices flowing. Like, okay, how else can you do things? What can you shift, or what can, it always just kind of helps me to realign and just not only remember why I do it, but also, come up with some fresh ideas so that more people can be impacted and more people can be reached. You know what I mean?
I love that. And so obviously you pour into the community, pour into your customers. I know that obviously juicing is a part of your wellness plan, but what else do you do for self care?
Self care. So I preach self-care all the time, right? I always even tell people like even juicing is a form of self-care, because if that's not something you would do on a regular, you know what I mean, to help, fuel your body or take care of yourself, like it's a form of self-care. And so one of the things that I like to do for self-care, I love massages. So I will always try to take a break for myself to get a massage, or just take some time to, I love foot massages, full body massages, you name it. But that's something I love to do for self-care. And just recently I just started to keep a journal, so
Mm.
just journaling. Also, I started to notice like, okay, when I start writing things down, like something happened. I don't know. So to me, that's like a form of self-care that I could just pour out whatever it is that I'm thinking, whether it's creatively or otherwise. And then I can start to see some shifts happening. And so I think that's also a form of self-care for me too.
I love that. I love that. Fatia, where can people find Juice Defined and keep in contact with you?
So you can find us, first of all, you can visit us in store, in person. We're a family run business. My whole family work there. So if you ever show up to Juice to Find, you are guaranteed to see auntie, cousin, mama, daughter, all of us work there. So come by. We are located at 854 Alibaba Avenue, and that's in Opelika, Florida. So you can also find us online, via our website, where you can also place your orders. We do delivery and pickup options on there as well, www.thejuicedefined.com. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Juice Defined.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Fatia. Everyone, make sure you go visit Juice to Find. If you are in Miami-Dade County, go to the store, go meet the family. But if
Yes.
you're not in Miami-Dade County, go to the website, start your healing and juicing journey with Juice to Find. Thank you so much for being here, Fatia. Thank you, Miami-Dade Economic Advocacy Trust, for always pouring back into the community. We are celebrating and highlighting Black women owned, led, and founded businesses here in South Florida throughout August, which is Black Business Month. Until next time, peace.